Eats and eats and eats and trees.
Hello and welcome to the Joy Holiday Channel. I'm Chef Marissa, and today on Eats and Treats we are celebrating St. Patrick's Day, a global celebration of Ireland, Irish culture and its contributions. Today our holiday menu is going to showcase a recent contribution to the food world as well as some ancient food traditions. Today for our St. Patty's Day menu we have an Irish pub salad here. When you're searching for that perfect green food to celebrate St. Patty's Day, don't forget about the easy greens of lettuce and other veggies. You can skip the food dye here. This traditional Irish salad bridges the gap from winter to spring. Most pubs will serve it with pickled green beans, but we did ours just blanched. So here I have our Bib lettuce, along with our blanched steamed green beans, our Dubliner cheese, our boiled eggs, our roasted beets, our cherry tomatoes, and a traditional Irish pub vinaigrette. So we'll begin building our salad. I have set aside some of the Bib lettuce for some nice decoration. And I love this salad because it's so simple. And it really caters to any of your guests that might be vegetarian or are looking for something on the lighter side. So there we have our beautiful greens. We can kind of prop up our back here. And then we are also going to be making our salad here in remembrance of the Irish flag. So we have our green beans here. We also have the Dubliner cheese for our white. Now before I get to our next ingredient, I want to tell you a little bit about the Dubliner cheese. You may have imagined that all aged cheeses have ancient origins. Well, this popular Irish cheese is a newcomer to the cheese world. Delicious Dubliner cheese was created in the early 90s and was introduced to the US market in 1999. In the words of its inventor, John Lucy, "It's nice to see an Irish cheese created by an Irish person, made by an Irish company." Go figure. He created this cheese by accident while he was a PhD student in Cork, Ireland, where the cheese is produced. Not in Dublin, as its name may suggest. Its flavor and texture is like a mashup of Parmesan and cheddar cheese. It is absolutely delicious and I highly recommend it. So next we will do our hard-boiled eggs. And I have gone ahead and done a soft boil on our eggs here. I love, this is the way I eat my hard-boiled eggs. You are more than welcome to do a full hard boil where it is thoroughly cooked through the center. But I think it gives it some great color and really just adds to our salad here. So then we will do our beets. And as you can see here with our Irish flag, we have our green, we have our white, and we have our orange. It's kind of like a Irish Cobb salad, if you would. All right, and we'll add our tomatoes. And for the vinaigrette, it's just a nice, simple recipe. We have our apple cider vinegar, our whole grain mustard, some olive oil, a little maple syrup, but please visit our website on Eats and Treats to find the full recipe. So there you have it, your beautiful pub salad with your delicious pub salad vinaigrette. And this will definitely wow your guests, and it is a simple, easy dish that is sure to please. Now, to the most revered item on our menu, Irish soda bread. People are very serious about their traditional recipes, and there is actually a society for the preservation of Irish soda bread. We'll provide links in the description below so you can learn all about it and maybe make your own traditional version. Today we are trailblazing with a gluten-free version. For our gluten-free Irish soda bread, we are using our 4.5 cups of a gluten-free flour blend. We're using our gluten-free flour blend for our celiac viewers, as well as anyone that has any gluten intolerance. Then we have our baking powder, 4 teaspoons, 1.5 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 2/3 cup of granulated sugar, 1.5 cups of raisins, 4 eggs, 2 cups of Greek yogurt, and 12 tablespoons of melted butter cooled. Now today we are also making a savory Irish soda bread, so I have included our Dubliner Irish cheese, 2 cups, and 2 cups of chopped bacon. For our gluten-free Irish soda bread, we are going to begin by sifting our dry ingredients. So I have our gluten-free flour blend here. I like to sift it in shifts. I will add half of our flour here. And I will add our baking powder, baking soda, and kosher salt. We'll begin to sift that. Now you can, if you don't have a sifter, you can use a whisk. It's just a great way to incorporate all of your dry ingredients. Now I'll go ahead and add the rest of my dry ingredients. Flour here. We'll just continue to sift that. You can see by sifting that how light and fluffy it aerates the flour. With gluten-free flours, you can notice that it can be a little denser, so sifting is just an extra way to alleviate that in your baked goods and just have that light airiness. All right, set that to the side. Now we're going to mix our wet ingredients. So I have here our Greek yogurt. Now you can also use sour cream as well. I like Greek yogurt because it adds a little extra protein into our baked goods. And you want to make sure you use the full fat Greek yogurt. We'll add our melted butter that's been cooled. All right, and then we have our room temperature eggs. Now we'll go ahead and whisk all that together, cracking up your eggs. And since today we are going to be making a sweet and a savory Irish soda bread, I'm going to mix the base together and then we'll go ahead and fold in our ingredients separately. All right, now that that's really nice and fully incorporated, we'll go ahead and add our dry ingredients to our wet. Now I like to add a little bit at a time. That way you can whisk it in, and that way you don't add too much of your dry into your wet and then it becomes too dry. All right, as I am mixing together our gluten-free Irish soda bread, I am noticing that I have some extra flour left over. So that's just kind of a professional tip, let's say. I've experienced when I'm doing gluten-free baking that the measurements aren't always precise, depending upon what gluten-free flour blend you're using. If you're using a blend that already has xanthan gum in it, you tend to mix as less as possible, because if you overmix, then your baked good will become hard as a rock, and we don't want that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set aside the rest of this flour, and I'm going to use it for another recipe that we are going to be doing on our menu. Now that we have our Irish soda bread all mixed together, I am going to divvy it up into 2 glass bowls and have one for sweet and one for savory. And so also another tip, if you are going to be using the Greek yogurt as opposed to sour cream for your Irish soda bread, I would suggest also you can use a little bit of milk or half and half to thin out your Greek yogurt. And also I omitted the sugar until I had everything mixed together, and now I am going to add our sugar and our raisins. Now you can also use currants if you'd like to use currants. Really any dried fruit you can mix it up. You can add craisins if you want to, but we just went with raisins. And you just want to be very careful just to fold in your last ingredients, not to overmix your Irish soda bread batter. Beautiful. Now let's do our savory. So we have some chopped up bacon here. You can never have enough bacon, so more is more here. And then we have our delicious Dubliner Irish cheese. Now we'll go ahead and mix that in. Now that we have our gluten-free Irish soda bread all mixed together with our savory and our sweet, I have a muffin pan here that I've prepared with some muffin pan liners and some nonstick spray. I always love to use nonstick spray whenever I'm baking. It's better to have a little bit extra than not enough and have your baked goods stick to your pan or even your liner. So I'm using an ice cream scoop here. That helps keep the measurements nice and precise and equal. So just scoop each one in there. And I love this gluten-free savory Irish soda bread because you can serve this for your St. Patrick's Day as a side accompaniment. And what we are going to be using ours for is a gluten-free Reuben. We're going to be using the Irish soda bread as our bun. So just multi-purpose, just an amazing recipe. And I hope that you try it out and leave your comments. Let us know how it works out for you. And I really hope that you enjoy this. Because how could you not enjoy some bacon with some Dubliner cheese? Now that we have pulled out our beautiful gluten-free Irish soda bread, as you can see, it has a nice golden brown on the crust. Now I find with gluten-free baking sometimes if you don't have the extra sugar on top or the cheese in the savory that kind of helps caramelize and give you that golden brown texture, that the bottom will brown faster than the top will show. So always be conscious to not burn the bottom of your baked item, especially with gluten-free baking. And with these, I used a toothpick to insert into the center, and it came out nice and clean, and so I knew that they were ready to go. So we baked these for 18 minutes at 350 degrees. So now after pulling them out of the oven, they've been cooling for about 5 minutes, and then we're gonna move them to a cooling rack, and that will allow so the bottom doesn't continue to bake and it doesn't get soggy as well. So what's really nice about the muffin liners is you can just pull those right out of the muffin tin and just super easy. As opposed to baking a whole loaf of the Irish soda bread, which you could do as well in a muffin pan. And with that, I would suggest using parchment paper as well when you line it and kind of leaving the flaps overhanging, and then you can just pull that right out of your muffin pan. So there's little to no mess and easy breezy pulling it right out of your pan. Oh, these look amazing. So you can serve the sweet or savory with some delicious Kerrygold Irish butter, or with the sweet, you can also serve that with some delicious homemade jam. Now for the final test. I'm gonna go ahead and try one of the sweet gluten-free Irish soda bread. Now as you can see, it's nice and moist in the center, not too dense, looks beautiful. It's nice and cooked all the way through, a nice golden brown on the base there. And let's give it a taste. Delicious. Not too sweet, nice and light, airy texture. These are gonna be amazing for the bread pudding. Stay tuned. Today for our St. Patty's Day menu, we are gonna be making an Irish Boxty. Boxty on the griddle, Boxty on the pan. If you can't make Boxty, you'll never get a man. Who doesn't love an Irish rhyme? So there are 3 different varieties of traditional Irish Boxty. There's pan Boxty, loaf Boxty, and boiled Boxty. Isn't that a mouthful? Named after 3 methods of cooking. Today we're making a pan Boxty. Today for our Irish Boxty, the ingredients you will need is 4 eggs, 1 cup of heavy cream, 18 ounces of cooked, peeled, and coarsely grated russet potato. We have our leftover gluten-free flour blend from our Irish soda bread that already has the baking powder in it. We will be using about 4 tablespoons, but we will eye it out once we're mixing all of our ingredients together. We also have our salt here to taste. We have 8 tablespoons of melted Kerrygold butter in accordance with our St. Patrick's Day. I have 2 zucchinis grated, 2 cups of packed fresh raw spinach, and 1 bunch of green onions. Let's get mixing. For our Irish Boxty today, we are doing a little spin on it. We are going to be turning our Irish Boxty a little green in remembrance of St. Patrick's Day. So I have here our 4 eggs that we are going to blend together. Then we have our bunch of green onion, our spinach, and this is also a great way to add some extra vegetables in there. If you have any kiddos that are resistant on eating their vegetables, this is a great way to hide them. All right, and then we're just gonna add our cream. We're gonna blend that right up. All right, now that we have everything fully incorporated, we're gonna mix our wet in with our dry. Now we are going to be mixing our cooked and grated russet potatoes. And this is our mix, so we're gonna be adding some more green. So we're gonna add our zucchini, and it's about equal parts zucchini and potato. We'll mix that up first, that way they're evenly incorporated. Ooh, these are gonna be delicious. All right, now that we have that all mixed together, we're gonna go ahead and add our wet ingredients. Look at that beautiful color. These are definitely gonna be a crowd favorite. So I love Boxty because it's kind of a play on the latkes, which I'm a little more familiar with, but this is the Irish traditional dish. All right, now that we have that all mixed together, this is where we will incorporate our flour. So, and like I said, it would vary with our gluten-free flour. So we'll just start here. This is about 2/3 cup. We'll mix that in and see what our consistency looks like. We don't want it to be too dry. Just enough flour just to keep it held together, a nice binder. We can't forget to add a little bit of salt. Salt makes everything taste a little better. We'll do a little bit more flour here. And kind of just, use your judgment, eye it out. I think this will do. This will be great. All right, now we're gonna get ready to start cooking these up in our pan. All right, so now that we have everything mixed together, I'm gonna go ahead and heat up my saute pan with the butter that we had melted already. And I'm gonna be using a 2/3 cup measuring for our Boxties, so that way they're nice and uniform in the pan. And if you didn't know, all of you keto people out there that are taking a break from potatoes, potatoes are a complete meal. All by itself, it contains all the fiber, nutrients, and carbohydrates to make it nutritionally sustaining. So, potatoes are back on the good list. Today for our St. Patty's Day menu, we are doing bread pudding for our dessert. We are going to transform our Irish soda bread into this 11th century frugal comfort food, bread pudding. This is one of the best ways to use up leftover stale bread. Today we are toasting ours to hasten the process. I love caramel and apples, but you can use this basic recipe to add your own favorite flavors like pears or chocolate or whatever that sweet tooth of yours desires. So here we have our toasted gluten-free Irish soda bread. I have cooked it at 375 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes. I have 2 cups of Granny Smith apples, diced, 1 vanilla bean, 5 eggs, 3 cups of half and half, and our salted caramel sauce for layering. So I'm going to show you how to get out the seeds from our vanilla bean. So I love fresh vanilla bean because you can't beat the flavor. And so what you're going to do is take your vanilla bean and split it down lengthwise. And then you're gonna open it up. And it has all those delicious seeds in the center. And you take 1/2 and you open it up. And then you're gonna take the back edge of your knife and you're just gonna go ahead and scrape all that goodness. And then we will take all of those seeds, see all that beautifulness, and we're gonna just pop that right into our cream. Now we will do our other half. And you can also, if you're making any sauces with the vanilla bean, you can go ahead and use the pod and pop that into your cream and cook that as well. And that even heightens the flavor even more. Beautiful. All right. So we have that. Now we are going to mix our half and half mixture with our eggs. So we have 5 eggs. And our half and half. And I love using the vanilla beans because you get to see all the seeds. And it just makes it look beautiful. All right, we'll just whisk that up till it's all fully incorporated. Now, if you wanted to, you could go ahead and add some cinnamon or some nutmeg if you'd prefer. Just adds to the flavors. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and just pour this right back into my measuring cup, and that helps when I go ahead and I pour it over our bread pudding when it's finished. All right. Now we are going to layer our bread pudding. So I have our baking dish here. I have lightly greased it and I have placed 1 layer of our toasted bread pudding here. Now I'm going to add our Granny Smith apples. Now I love using the Granny Smith apples because they're nice and tart. So it's a nice complement to our sweet Irish bread. And then I have also omitted any additional sugar because our Irish soda bread is already sweet as it is. And we are also going to be adding our caramel sauce. So you just drizzle your caramel sauce. This is just going to be decadent. All right, and we'll do one more layer. So we will do the rest of our Irish soda bread. Now I've toasted it nice and well, so it's nice and crispy, so that it soaks up all of our egg and cream mixture. So that way you don't have so much of a soggy bread pudding, that it still has that crunch to it a little bit. All right, we'll do the rest of our apples. All right, we'll do the rest of the caramel. All right, now we are going to add our egg and cream mixture. Now go slowly, because you don't want it to pour over. And you're just gonna wanna fill it up until everything is submerged in the cream mixture. And I also like to press it down. All right, well, I think that's just gonna be great. So we're gonna go ahead and place this in the oven at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes until you insert the thermometer into the center and it reaches 155, and then we will be right back. We all love some corned beef and cabbage or a scrumptious Reubens sandwich on St. Paddy's Day. But the origins of this celebration meal is not traditionally from Ireland. We can thank our Irish American immigrants for the use of corned beef as a substitute for their more preferred yet more expensive bacon. For the corned beef, you can purchase it in the local grocery store where it's already prepared, where you're just reheating it, or you can go ahead and buy brisket, and you can choose your own spices or seasonings that you prefer, and then you can cook it low and slow, braising in the oven, or I prefer to cook it in the Instant Pot, where it cuts the cooking time down by half, and it comes out with a nice tender piece of meat. So we're gonna go ahead and prepare our Reubens, and I'm gonna show you my special way of preparing a Reuben. For our Reubens today, I have toasted our rye bread, and we have here our gluten-free Irish soda bread with bacon and Dubliner cheese. Delicious, a great option for those gluten-free friends of yours or anyone that has any gluten intolerances. So I'm gonna take our toasted rye bread, and here we have a delicious Thousand Island dressing that we've pre-made. You can find the recipe on Eats and Treats. So we will spread our sauce on our toasted bread, and I also have set aside our tops here, which we will add after we have melted our cheese on top of our fillings. So here we have our sauce that we're gonna add to each of our pieces of toasted rye. So the biggest difference between corned beef and pastrami is that pastrami is smoked after curing and corned beef isn't. Pastrami is usually cured with a dry rub and corned beef with a brine. So now, after we have our sauce on each of our bases for our Reubens, we will go ahead and layer up our sandwich. So we will start with our pastrami. Now I like to fold our pastrami. It gives it some nice height for our sandwich, and it just looks really nice. So now that we are gonna put our final pastrami on our sandwiches here, our next ingredient is going to be our sauerkraut. And also we have made some slaw here. So for those that don't prefer the sauerkraut, we have done a green and red cabbage with some grated Granny Smith apples and tossed it with a apple cider vinaigrette, which you can find this recipe at Joy Eats and Treats. Now I love Reubens with the pastrami, but you can also make a Reuben with corned beef. I've also seen it done with turkey. So it's really your preference, whatever you may have in your fridge this week. So it's very versatile. All right. So now we are going to add our Swiss cheese here. And we are going to toast these in the oven at 350 degrees until our cheese is nice and melted. I would say between 5 and 8 minutes. And then I'll show you what to do after they're finished being toasted. So for our gluten-free option, I'm gonna go ahead and make these with our corned beef. So I'm just gonna kind of shred this corned beef because they're gonna be little sliders. And it gives you some nice variety for your menu. You can repurpose your corned beef, which I always love doing, finding many purposes for one item, so that way it cuts down the cooking time in the kitchen. All right, those are looking great. And let's go ahead, I'm gonna use our slaw for these ones. So that way, in case anybody doesn't like sauerkraut, they have another option. And for the slaw, you can go ahead and you can make that ahead of time. Kind of just allow that to sit in the fridge with the dressing. That way it has some time to marinate, and the cabbage can soften up a little bit. Still has that nice crunch to it. All right, so we're just gonna top these with our Swiss cheese and pop these in the oven, and we'll see you right after. Now that we have our cheese melted and our Reubens are nice and toasty, I'm going to add to our top layer of our bread some more sauce, because I feel like you can never have enough sauce. It just is complementing to the sandwich. So we'll top our top, we'll place that. We'll also do for our little mini sliders, our gluten-free sliders. Aren't those just adorable? I think your guests are gonna love those. Now what I love about this menu is that it's a bit sophisticated for St. Patty's Day. So you could have a lovely dinner party with your guests and really just bring some fancy and some class to your St. Patty's Day extravaganza. We have our finished Reubens here. So I'm gonna go ahead and platter those up, getting ready for our guests to arrive. Now these are definitely sure to leave everyone satisfied by the end of the evening. Now I always love to taste my final creation before serving it to my guests. That way, in case anything needs to be tweaked or any spices need to be added, I can adjust. So let's go ahead and give it a taste. Absolutely divine. I hope that you are able to recreate these amazing creations, and please leave your comments at the bottom of the page. So here we have our final St. Patrick's Day spread. So we began with our pub salad. We have our delicious green Boxties with some sausages that I went ahead and seared just to kind of round out the menu. We also have our corned beef with our steamed potatoes, some steamed carrots and steamed cabbage. We also have for dessert some fun leprechaun hats for the kids, which are chocolate dipped marshmallows with a fudge striped cookie on the bottom, kind of a leprechaun s'more. Then we have our salted apple caramel bread pudding with some fresh whipped cream, as well as our finished Reubens, our gluten-free Irish soda bread, and also our marble rye Reuben. Now this whole menu here is all gluten-free with the exception of the marble rye bread. I'm Chef Marissa here on the Joy Holiday channel for Eats and Treats. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also turn on notifications so you can get all of our upcoming videos. Also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Follow us on Twitter, Joy H Channel, and we look forward to seeing you next time. I hope that you enjoy making these recipes as much as I did, and I look forward to seeing your comments. We'll see you next time.